Hey friends, what's up? Welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah from PIESNPROSE, and today we're touching on a topic that I don't often talk about on the channel. I did want to touch upon a question that I got from last week's productivity vlog day in my life video, and that question was, how do you stay productive when you're feeling overwhelmed, want to procrastinate everything? And you might be surprised to know that I am a huge procrastinator. I don't mention it obviously in any of my videos because my videos are meant to give inspiration to be more productive, but it is true, I am a huge procrastinator and there are times where I get extremely overwhelmed. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips or things that I usually practice to help me stay productive when I'm feeling overwhelmed. A quick disclaimer right before we get into the video, I forgot to mention this. This video is meant to help you get some tips and get some inspiration on remaining productive when you have to get some work done or you're procrastinating and you have to get back on track with things. Obviously, if you're extremely overwhelmed or if you're burnt out and your mental health is taking a toll, my main suggestion for you is to not do anything at all and not push through. But of course, there are situations where we have to remain productive or we've been slacking for a bit too much and we need to get back on track. So that's what this video is about. Okay, so the first tip is something that I talk about a lot actually. I mention it a lot on my Instagram specifically, but it is to take a lot of mini breaks. So frequent mini breaks. What that basically means is, say you have a 9 to 5 or whatever time frame of the day that you are just, really immersed into work. You should be taking a lot of frequent breaks in between that work day. I am a firm believer and advocate in frequent mini breaks because those just help me break up the day. They help me break out of a monotonous routine, and it gives me space to sort of reset, do some really quick resets throughout the day so that I don't end up feeling burnt out by the time it's time to log off. Examples of mini breaks can be something as short as 1 minute long or as long as 10-15 minutes long. And the kinds of breaks that I take, for example, I will sometimes get up and do a really good stretch to get my limbs all loose again. Sometimes I will go refill my water in the kitchen. Sometimes I even go outside and just check the mail, and that's just a nice way for me to not look at a screen and get some fresh air and look outside for a little bit. Sometimes I even just stand up and look outside for like a good 60 seconds, and those mini breaks definitely help. And even though it might sound really silly to take 1 minute break to just stand up and look outside or do a stretch, these add up. They really count and they really matter. I remember working in an office for many hours of the day, and I would just kind of sit there all day long, and sometimes I would just get up to go use the bathroom or grab my lunch and then come right back to the desk and continue working. And it really took a toll on my body. It took a toll on my mental health. Nowadays I take a lot of those frequent breaks, like I said, and it helps me so much. Definitely don't feel like you're silly if you're taking a lot of mini breaks to do something really silly for like 60 seconds or 5 minutes or anything like that. They do matter, and they do have a positive impact when you're trying to stay productive. It'll help you keep going for a longer time or whatever period of time that you're doing work without feeling burnt out and exhausted by the end of it. Okay, the second tip is very similar. It is to take longer breaks, big breaks, and I mean like days off or vacation time, anything that is related to that. Sick days are also included in that. I know it's kind of silly to mention this, but it's also kind of embraced in this whole hustle culture where we shouldn't take time off for ourselves. And I just don't agree with that necessarily all the time. Of course, I'm constantly working and I should practice more of what I preach, but I try to do that for sure. I try to take days off here and there just for myself. So sometimes I will just take like a Friday off and sit on the couch, not do a thing, have no obligations or deadlines, watch YouTube videos and hang out a little bit. And that is what I mean by taking a longer break. You don't have to take a vacation. You don't have to go to Maui. You don't have to, book a trip if you don't want to. You can have a bit of a staycation just so that you can reset, sleep in a little bit, and take the time for yourself without feeling like you have obligations or deadlines to meet in that given day. Again, this is like another reset. It's just a larger reset. This is something that I like to do when I know that I'm on the verge of feeling burnt burnt out and I don't want my whole productivity to go crumbling into a disaster. So I do this for myself. I take a day off, I reset, and I guarantee you every single time that I do this, I come back feeling so much more refreshed and ready to take on a work day, ready to be productive, and it just feels good to carve some time off and dedicate some time off for yourself. And it makes you want to be more productive once you get back to it. You have to fuel yourself in multiple ways in order for you to keep going. You can't just assume that if you're going on autopilot that you're just going to be able to remain productive. It's just not sustainable. And so taking breaks, taking your vacations, your well-deserved vacations are super important. And I just also want to say, when it comes to like taking vacation days, days off, and sick days, personal days, whatever it looks like to you, mental health is also included in that. And so if you're exhausted, if you're feeling burnt out, this all counts. Okay, tip number 3, breaks aside, I like to do a little bit of reevaluation with myself, and specifically in terms of productivity. So I'll start off by saying that we all go through a bunch of life stages, and that doesn't have to necessarily be connected to a milestone in your life. It's not because you had a child or if you started a new job or anything like that. We go through different life stages for many different things. With that being said, I like to reevaluate my productivity and the way that I organize and the way that I schedule my days based on what current life stage I'm in right now. So say for example, I am just not in a life stage right now that is very fast paced. I'm trying to slow it down, maybe I'm trying to scale it back, but yet my organization and the way that I've been scheduling lately has been really like one thing after the other and back to back to back. And while that was working for me in a previous life stage, it's not working for me now. So I will do some reevaluation and sort of reschedule everything, rehash everything to make my schedule fit my needs at this given point in my life, in this life stage. Say for example, I post a lot throughout the week. I do 2 YouTube videos, a newsletter, and sometimes 1 to 2 blog posts a week. And say I'm in a life stage where I just can't be sustainable with this, and this is actually a real life situation. This is actually happening right now. I used to post every single week on theconsciousroot.com, which is my food blog. And I'm just not in a life stage right now where I feel like it's necessary for me to take on a blog post every single week for that blog. I did a bit of reevaluation in terms of my scheduling, and I shifted to maybe doing 2 blog posts or 1 blog post a month. And so that shift there definitely eases tension, eases all of the weight that I have in terms of getting things done. And that weight being lifted will help me feel like I can actually get things done. Nothing is worse than having all of this weight on your back, knowing that you have to get 20 different things done in a given week, and you just are so overwhelmed that you don't even know where to begin. So cutting back some things where you are able to and scaling back where you're able to is going to be super great for lifting off that weight and making you feel like, okay, this is doable, this is tangible, I can get things done. In the long run, you will be more productive that way, as opposed to smushing 20 different things into 1 week and feeling like you have to get them all done, and then you get burnt out and you do absolutely nothing. Okay, tip number 4. This is something that I've mentioned in other productivity videos. If you want, you can check out some productivity videos in the description box. I'll link a few of them for you. But this tip is to break down projects and tasks into tiny, tiny little segments. I love the concept of this, and once I realized that I can do this with anything, it was a game changer. It makes me so much more productive than you can possibly imagine. Let's use an example of, say you have a shop, say you have a sticker shop. I'm actually pulling from my own experience because a few years ago I had my own sticker shop. There are so many things that go behind owning a business, a small business. We can use the example of, say you got 20 orders in a week. Congratulations. You can break down segments of fulfilling orders, such as having one task be writing down all of the addresses, another task to be creating your stickers, another task to be filling out the mailing envelopes and stuff like that. Another task can be actually fulfilling those orders, so putting those stickers into the envelopes and sealing them up and marking them fulfilled. And then the last thing would be to take them to the post office and get them mailed out to your customers. So that was about 5 tasks right there. And what you can do to make these tiny little segments, they're already small as is, but you can dedicate a single day to each of these segments instead of doing all 5 of these things all in one day and feeling like you're never going to finish, you're never going to have enough time in the day. And instead, having all of those things happen throughout an entire week. So you can start on Monday with the first task, and then by Friday you're heading out to the post office. It makes things a lot more doable, a lot less overwhelming, and in return you're going to feel a lot more productive because now you've freed up a lot of space throughout each of those 5 days. You can get other things done and you can take your time, but while you're taking your time, you're still getting things done and you're not just, again, on autopilot. We want to avoid autopilot at all costs because it's just not a healthy place to be in. While you can certainly do those all in one day, you can certainly get burnt out by the end of the day, and who knows how long it's going to take. I just use an example of 20 orders, but it could be like 100 orders, right? So all in all, making small segments out of your projects and tasks are going to make things a lot more tangible, a lot more approachable and accessible, and it's not going to get you burnt out by the end of it. Okay, and the 5th tip that I have is to give yourself deadlines with an asterisk if it is helpful for you. So deadlines aren't for everyone. Deadlines can be really, really intimidating and can really paralyze you in some types of ways, depending on who you are, if you like deadlines or not. I personally like deadlines sometimes, other times they certainly, stunt me and I have no idea what to do and how to approach a deadline, so that's why I have an asterisk here. But if deadlines are something that are helpful to you, add some deadlines into your routine, and that is what's going to push you to stop procrastinating and actually check things off of your list and make sure that you get things done. I'll give you a real life example. Ian, my husband, is a huge procrastinator. He has a lot of ambitions and he has a lot of goals, and they're great goals. But he's really great at visualizing them in the beginning and sort of saying like, I would love to do this, but he doesn't give himself a deadline. And so a lot of those ambitions and goals and ideas that he has kind of just sits in a spot where it's like, you thought of it and now what? And so deadlines can be helpful in a way where you take something that you've been meaning to do or you've been wanting to do for a really long time and actually forcing you to get it done in a way where like it's going to benefit you by the end of it. So again, this all depends on if you are not really overwhelmed by deadlines. I've noticed that in Ian's situation and his example, I've given him some deadlines and it's been working really well. And while he was intimidated by the deadlines at first, he is now able to cross some things off of his list, and it makes him feel really great in the long run. So it's helping him be more productive. If deadlines are something that are really, really intimidating for you and they really paralyze you, don't use this step because it's not going to help you be productive in any way. And I will also reiterate that sometimes deadlines are okay to be broken. I know that goes against the entire rule of what deadlines mean, but some deadlines are okay to be broken. It happens, that's life, and it is just the way life goes. So say, for example, in my situation with the blog post from theconsciousroot.com, say I had a deadline for this Thursday to post something on the blog and I did not make that deadline. I am not going to beat myself up over it. I'm overwhelmed and it's already been established that this is something that is sort of stifling my productivity. So if I let loose on this one deadline, I'm going to be okay and I'll just know to do better in another life stage and life goes on. I hope that makes sense. I hope I haven't been confusing this entire time. Okay, that is the end of this video. I hope I did a good job with explaining. Let me know if you need me to explain anything further in the comments. I know I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent in some parts. I hope this helps navigate some things for you, especially if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or if you've been procrastinating a lot, or if you've been overwhelmed about procrastinating a lot. I know exactly how you feel. This happens to me all the time. I do have a lot of tasks that I'm dealing with and a lot of projects that I'm working on, and although that is extremely ambitious of me and admirable of me, it takes a toll, and I procrastinate so much. Sometimes I leave things undone for months at a time, and it comes back to bite me in the butt. So I try my best to follow these very tips that I shared with you you today, and again, I hope they're helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to cover anything else. Like I said, this whole video sort of got prompted because of a question that I got last week, and while I was always thinking about doing it and I never did it, that question definitely prompted me to do it. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you in next week's video.